Welcome to another episode of Compa Financial Therapy. I am Danny.
And I'm Mike, your compadres with financial stories.
How was your week this?
It was good, it was good. This time I'm not going to complain about the heat, for
Why not?
sure. I complained about it 2 weeks in a row.
But it's still hot though.
It is hot, so it was freaking hot. Sweating bullets. Humidity has been pretty high.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. How was your week?
It was busy.
See?
I had to meet my attorney this week.
Your attorney. Did you get sued?
No, this is for living trust. Yeah, to plan when I die.
Plan when you die.
Yeah.
So what is that like? 'Cause for us, it's hard talking about death, right? Planning for it.
Well, I already have one. I need to update it since I did my trust back in about 15 years ago.
Damn.
So it's time to update it. A lot of people that we left as beneficiaries, they're no longer here. So, yeah.
And you have to update it to update the beneficiaries and.
Well, you should. I mean, otherwise, what's going to happen?
What is that? Because I really don't know. I've never really looked into it. I've taken one course, but that person was like overwhelming.
The raza, man, most people think, oh, I have a will, which they go to a notario or notary, and they think that's sufficient.
Enough for that?
If you own property or a lot of assets, it's not good. Basically, the only way that you avoid what they call probate, which is going to court to figure out who will own the estate or who will manage the estate when you die, is through something called a living trust.
A living trust.
And the living trust, there's several components to it. There's your you appoint who's going to manage your estate. It appoints who's going to manage your health directives, like if you get sick that you can't make decisions. It will give the trustee, whoever you appoint, the powers to make decisions for you on your behalf, financial, medical, any decision that involves that in your personal life that you can't do in the event that you're incapacitated or you can't make decisions.
Okay.
So that's what a living trust does. Now we have the will. It's almost the same thing. The only difference is that a will is typically done through like a notary, and that's not recorded. It's not registered. A living trust is.
Okay.
So because it's registered, you don't have to go to probate. You don't have to go to court. If you do a will alone, at that point, if you die, then you take that will to the court, and the court will have to make the decision if that will is valid, if it's really what your requests are.
Right.
And if you have any type of real estate, you really want to avoid going to probate because it's expensive.
See, this is and I'm glad we're talking about this. I don't have a lot of experience. I have pretty much just like a 30-minute class that they gave us, but I don't have experience with this one. So this is very important for us to understand.
See, my godfather passed away a couple of years ago, and he didn't have a will. He didn't have a trust.
Right.
So the family had to go to probate.
Is that a lengthy process?
It's about a year, 6 months to a year. And I think it costs somewhere about $60,000 to $80,000
to go to probate.
Damn. So it was a very expensive process for them to do.
Now, really quick, that $60,000 to $80,000, is that something you got to pay,
Yeah.
or is that something that comes out from, like, let's say, the property that's left over from?
You know what? I don't know how they did it, but I know they had to pay the attorney up front because otherwise the attorney won't do it. And the banks, because there's loans on the property, they had to notify them, and the banks really don't let you do anything with the property until it gets resolved by the court. So yeah, if you own property, it's very important that you have some type of living trust. If you don't own any property, it's still at least to have some type of document. If you have a car, who are you going to leave it to? If you have kids, I think that's when it really becomes important, because who are you going to have somebody overlook your kids, help raise your kids?
Padrinos, right?
Well, typically that's what our community. Yeah, you baptize and you become padrino, but reality, does that really come into play?
And that's what I was saying. I don't think we really do it. We identify the padrinos to be the ones to take care of our kids, because they're supposed to be the best role models that can take on your kids. But
sometimes it's
I don't think it happens.
Who's the best party, right? Who I can party with, and they don't really look at. I think there's a very small number of people who really look at who are the padrinos to really step into that role. I think in the past it was more common. I knew somebody. He's no longer here. That he told me the story about when he was small. I think when 7 or 8 years old, he lost both of his parents, and he was raised by his padrinos, and that was the whole. Throughout his life until he became 18 or 16, he left and he came to the U.S. But today, I don't think that role.
Right, I don't think it happens anymore.
I think usually, even if you have padrinos, either a brother or sister would want to kick in, or a parent would say, "No, those are my grandkids. Right. I'm going to take care of." So, I don't know, and I don't even know how the courts will really treat godparents.
Right.
If they really consider them. Unless there's something in writing. So I think it's very important that you have either at least for that, at least a will that is notarized, at least something in writing.
Okay.
But ideally, if you own property and you have a lot of assets, it should be a living trust.
Okay.
That's done by an attorney. It gets registered, it gets recorded, and you don't have to go to probate.
So where do you go with the will? Is that something that you create on your own, or do you get somebody? I know you mentioned like a notary, but
you could go. I know there's a lot like online places where you could do a little will.
Right.
Those are the least favorable, but I mean, let's just have a car, a little, $1,000 bank account, and a kid,
right.
I would probably do the will.
Okay.
Because the living trusts, they start getting expensive.
Right.
You're looking at about $1,000 to $2,000, even to $3,000.
See, and I've heard people telling me that they paid, I think it was like $6,000 for a will, a living trust. A living trust.
It's based on your assets. It's based on most of the time it's based on what's your assets.
Right.
And you got to shop around for attorneys. Some are get better than others.
Right.
One thing that I did learn recently, and something that I want to change in my will or my living trust, but I'm not sure how you feel about it. Right now the way I have it, if I die, my half goes to my wife 100%. There's a plus and minus to that. If let's say we get older, and my wife or we have caretakers,
right.
And the caretakers try to take advantage of my wife or me,
which happens.
Yeah. There's nothing that will prevent in that living trust from my wife signing over something to the caretaker.
Right.
The other thing would be is if she remarries, then everything that I work for to protect her, she gets married and then they take everything away from her.
Right. So you help the other guy.
Yeah, pretty much. I've seen that happen. So a family member told me, the way they did it, and which I think it's a really good idea, is when either one dies, their half does not go to the spouse. It goes to their siblings, all the kids.
Okay.
But there's a catch. It goes to the kids, but the kids cannot touch it until the other parent passes away.
Now, can you put that in writing? Like, let's suppose, so I don't want my kids touching, like, if I were to die, I wouldn't want them to touch the money up until maybe they're like 26, once, the brain's fully developed.
Well, that's what a living trust does.
Okay.
I mean, living trust specifically, you not only do you appoint who's going to manage your assets or your estate, you give instructions as what's going to happen from a watch to your cars to jewelry,
right.
Artwork. You appoint, okay, I want this going to go here, go there, and it doesn't have to be the same person. Originally, the way we had our living trust is we didn't trust many family members with money,
right.
So we had a private company to manage the financial portion of it.
Okay.
We did have the family to oversee our son and his well-being, but we had a company to oversee the finances until my son reached the age of 35.
Okay.
Why 35? We figured between ages 20 and 30, they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And they're probably going to spend the money.
They're going to
blow it.
Yeah.
By age 32 to 35, they should already be kind of somewhat settled down.
Right.
They will know what to do with money, how to manage money. That's why we did it that way. But that's the nice part of a living trust, that you put instructions. It's basically your instructions of what to do with your estate, your family, when you die.
Right.
That's what it comes down to it.
And that's interesting because it looks like a lot, right? A lot of work. And then sometimes you even think about it's $1,000, $2,000, $6,000. But at the end, it sounds like it's something that's very beneficial, right? That's gonna save people. You said $60,000 to $80,000.
For real estate assets, yeah, you'll save a lot of money in
Right.
that end. If you don't have real estate, I mean, it's kind of like a wash. The car's worth $2,000 or $3,000, and yeah. So I'm not sure about that one.
And I think now that I'm getting a little bit older, understanding the wealth and how important it is to preserve it, take care of it. Now I'm interested in the trust, the wills, understanding all that stuff.
And there's a couple of things you could do also to when you're kids. Like you say, okay, I'm gonna give them all my assets. I'm gonna give them all my fortune. But you could have stipulations where that he has to set his own will first, or she, before they get the money. And the reason for that is because, let's say you give it to your kid, one of your kids, and they get married, and then they get divorced.
Right.
If you keep it separate, they can't be touched. So
So
there's different ways of you could do it where they
right.
to protect it. To protect it, at least it stays with the people who you intended to.
Right. And that's pretty smart. I didn't even think about that. But it seems like you can just make them jump hoops, plus take care of their stuff, right?
Correct.
The stuff that you're handing down to them.
Might as well at that point they start taking care of their assets, since when you die, it says, okay, you got to make sure you have your paperwork in line.
Right.
And then the hard part is where it starts getting complicated. If you have kids, okay, yeah, everything goes to your kids, and if they have kids, then it goes to your grandkids, right? Pretty much that's the order you have it. But the hard part is, like, let's say you don't have any kids. Who do you leave that to?
Right?
Yeah.
The dog.
The dog, which has occurred.
I see that.
The neighbor. I've seen people who, they have family, or they hate their family,
Right.
and they'll just give it to somebody who'll take care of them.
It's somebody who's take care of them, who's nice to them, who they remember. Like I said,
Yeah.
maybe last minute at the end of life, they're like, hey, this person took very good care of me. They were really nice to me.
Yeah, and that's where the will or the living trust comes into play, because you could leave something specific to somebody who you want to appreciate when you died. Now, I wouldn't let people know who I have in my will or my trust, because then you never know.
Fighting,
Well, not to stop fighting, but I'm not sure if they will be honest with you. They'll just come because of the money.
I see what you're saying.
Conveniencia.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd rather surprise them at the end,
In your casket, no?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe.
So then what happens? Okay, so you do the living trust, and then you're mentioning not mentioning to like family or the person.
The only person you need to mention is who you leave as the trustee. The trustee is the person who you're leaving to open it and read it and follow your instructions.
Okay, and that person may not even have anything as part of the living trust other than just being a trustee.
It's up to you how you do it.
Maybe like a little tip, like here's $5 for helping us out or whatever.
It could be the person that's the inheritance.
True.
It could be, for example, I could leave my whole inheritance to my son or the dog, or the neighbor, and I could have my son also to be the one that's the trustee or the executor of the living trust. So it's basically instructions from when either you get sick and you can't make decisions, and when you die. And that also occurs. You could get a stroke when you're 60 or 70 or 80 years old, and you can't make financial decisions, or get dementia. There's a lot of diseases that are out there that will affect how you interact.
Right.
And in the living trust, there's a component of the medical directive that you give instructions as far as, do you want them to plug you in or unplug you?
To charge your cell phone?
Or to charge your cell phone. There you go. That's a perfect church actually for this.
Perfect timing, huh?
Perfect timing. Those are the instructions.
So the living trust comes with all that, like the advanced healthcare directive.
A good one will come with at least the healthcare directive, the power of attorney, and instructions as how the assets will get distributed.
Okay.
That's at least the bare minimum you should have. If you have companies, how those going to be treated.
Now, when you mentioned the company that you're going to leave it to a company to handle, what kind of company is that? I know you're not talking about like McDonald's or Burger King.
No, there's companies that actually handle estates or trust for families, and they charge a percentage, of course, when they start managing it.
Right.
They don't charge you anything to name them, but they'll charge a percentage of the estate for the duration that you instructed them to. And the way it works is, for example, if you have a minor and you're leaving them, let's say $10 million. Well, you don't want to give that minor $10 million,
right,
because they're going to blow it.
Of course.
So you say, okay, the instructions you could leave. Okay, they'll get a monthly allowance for living and for whoever's taking care of them, and at the age of X, we'll get a certain amount and pay college tuition. You leave instructions as how you want them to be taken care of.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's pretty much the way the company would work.
And so I'm thinking about this. And how would the company guarantee that they're actually going to use that money for said situation?
I think the company might, let's say for school, they would have to either pay the school directly.
Okay.
I don't know exactly how you're assured that they're the person's. I don't think they just give the check. They'll say, okay, give me receipts.
Because you can't go back. I mean, you're going to be dead. You can't go back and ask them, like, hey.
No. You're assuming that that's the
up.
way it's going to work.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
The other thing you could do on the living trust is instructions how you want to be buried. A lot of people don't. You might want to be cremated,
Right.
or you might want to have a burial, or you might want to be sent off to the ocean and
Don't have to with Osama bin Laden?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So we don't know, right?
Right.
So that's or what kind of casket you want.
Right,
if you
right.
want a casket,
A pink
so
one or fluorescent, lo que sea.
that's where you put instructions onto that. When my father passed away, he had instructions. He wanted mariachi
Ándale.
on his burial.
Okay.
So and he says there's money set aside for that. We ended up giving it to him, but that was his wish.
Damn.
So you could do stuff like that.
Okay. So I'm thinking. So then how do you find these companies? Is that something already that comes with the attorney, or the attorney can
A lot of
recommend?
attorneys will have
Oh.
the companies that manage that. So that's how the one we did. The attorneys already had a list of companies that they recommended. We went by that. The other advantage of doing a living trust is to prevent family from arguing.
Right.
I mean, if there's a specific person that you don't want to leave anything to, you can name them there. I do not want to leave anything to.
You can
X.
specifically say that?
Mhm. So if you have 2 kids or three kids or 10 kids, you say, I don't want any kids from my first marriage, and I don't want any kids from my third marriage to get anything. That happened to one of the movie stars. I don't remember who. They left
Damn.
anybody out.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Well, it was their life. They know what was going on, right?
Well, yeah.
But is that something that... So I imagine even that person, let's suppose they left me out. Mike's not going to get shit.
If it's a living trust, you can't be challenged.
You can't be challenged. I can't even take it to court. Like, no, this is fake. Somebody...
A will
forced it.
can be challenged. That's the disadvantage of a will. That you could say, hey, that will was not created right, that notary wasn't
Right.
legit. A will could be challenged. Unlike a trust, it's very difficult to challenge a trust.
Okay.
At least that's what I've been told.
Okay.
And I think it's true because the trust is recorded, it's done by an attorney, and you're specifically saying, hey, yeah, these are my wishes. A will, it's a notary, it's not really a professional. There could be some shady ones out
Right.
there, and so those I think it could be challenged.
Okay. That's pretty good. So the more estate, the more property you have, or assets, I'm sorry, the most assets and stuff you add on there, le van a subir el precio más.
Typically, there's some that do flat fees. You just got to find them. You just got to shop around. Look for an attorney that specializes in living trust, or probate.
Right.
Those know how to usually create one. But make sure that it has the basic components. And so, what do you think about just leaving your half to your wife or to your kids? What do you think about that?
So the way that I have everything now, I'm leaving nothing to my wife because I'm already giving her the best life that she has now, right?
Is that what she really thinks?
That wasn't a joke, though.
Oh no.
But anyways, I'm just kidding. So
I thought it was a joke, man.
it can
Does
go
she know
either way.
that?
She complains about it, but I know what I'm giving her.
But okay. That means you have a trust?
I have trust in her, yeah.
No, a living trust?
I live to trust her.
Okay, so you don't have a living trust, and then right now it goes to probate. So she gets half of everything you earn.
Yeah, So that's what I'm working on. I didn't have anything before.
So whoever advised you, they advised you wrong. You can't just say, hey, I'm not going to leave her anything. No. She gets 50%. If you've been married more than 10 years,
Yeah.
she gets automatic 50% of your
50%?
pension, your everything.
But that's good enough. She can have that. But she wants 100.
But once you die, you get 100%.
She does?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. So no, I don't have any of those.
Yeah.
And I think reason was one. I was like, whatever. I don't need anything. I don't have a house. I don't own shit.
But you have kids though.
I have kids. She can keep them.
So
I'm not gonna fight.
So let's say, tragedy happens. Both of you die. So what happens to your kids?
To both of us?
Yeah.
We're hoping their older sister, their adult older sister, is gonna take on.
What if she says, I don't want them?
Well, that sucks. Padrinos.
What if they? I don't want them.
That sucks.
So that's why you should have that, at least, or they say they start fighting. I want this one, I want that one, and I only want the one kid, I don't want the other kid. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to come back and jalar las patas a cada uno.
Well, see, I think that's why it's important. You should have at least something in writing to what happens to your kids, because it could happen.
Right.
It could. One and then the other one. But what I was asking is, do you think, what's the best method? Because I'm trying to change mine to update it. Is leaving your half to your spouse, or shall what I was advised to, no, don't leave it to your spouse, leave it to you, who ultimately, when both of you die, that those people or that person, you leave it to them, your half,
right,
but they can't touch it until the other one half dies.
So the way that we had it,
now what do you think is best?
I don't know. I'm really gonna sit there and think about it, because the way that I have it now is not like that. It's 100% going to my wife, right? Before it was 100% to my wife, and if she passed with me, then it would be her mom, because my kids were all underage.
Correct.
Entonces after that, but we were, and this is where we told her verbally. We told La Suegra, like, hey, this is how y'all want you to divide it. It's never written down.
Okay, so this is just
verbal. So she could be like, no, está mintiendo, nunca nos dijo nada.
Yeah.
He wanted me to keep it on, but I have a good suegra, so 100% to my wife. If she died,
if your suegra listens to this, she'll put you on the wheel.
Okay, I have a good suegra. If my wife dies with me, then it used to go to my suegra, but now it goes to my oldest daughter. So she's gonna take care of the managing the money for my two minor kids, and then she's gonna get some money, but the minor kids are gonna get more money. My adult daughter's already married, moved out, taking care of her business. The ones that are gonna need the money more are my younger ones. But then I don't have it in writing. I only have it percentage-wise beneficiary this person's gonna get. 20%, 40%.
So how do you? Who's gonna know that those are your wishes?
Right. They don't.
And I think that's in the neighborhood, people don't want to talk about
right.
it. When it literally took me several years to convince my parents to do a living trust. Right. And they would never want to talk about death. They would never want to talk about. They go, no, we do it. We're gonna die.
We're gonna die right away.
Yeah, and it's not that you're gonna die right away, but it's the way I convinced them was like, how are you? Or how do you? Because they would tell us, oh, everything's gonna go equal ways to all the siblings.
That's what they thought, right?
Yeah, that's what they were saying. But I go, how do you know that one of my cousins or one of my distant relatives or neighbors is gonna say, you promised me X,
right? And
when I put it to them and that, like, they could challenge it. Right. No, but we only have X number of kids, and it automatically, no, it doesn't. And so once they comprehended what could happen, that family members, neighbors, anybody could contest their wishes, they said, let's go do it.
Right.
And they did it. And yeah, the only thing that they did, that everything goes to one side, which now I'm kind of thinking if that was the right thing to do.
Right. And I remember when I took that one half an hour class, or it might have been an hour class on living trust and wills and LLCs, they said if you don't have anything, it's going to the state. And that's what people don't understand. Like, it's not going to go directly to who you want it to mentally. It's going to go somewhere else.
Typically, the courts will give it to the next of kin.
Right.
If they can't prove you're the next of kin, so let's say, for example, which this has happened in many places, you're married, but you physically have no blood children.
Right.
They're all your wife's kids or whatever. Let's say that was a scenario, and at that point, technically, you don't have next of kin.
Right.
And let's say that your wife is not even your wife; it's a live-in partner.
Right.
You don't have anybody.
Nada.
So, and you're saying, oh, it's going to go to my wife, sole wife,
or common law wife.
Right. They might consider that, but technically, it could be like, no, somebody can contest it.
Right.
Yeah. So if you don't have anybody, no family or anything, yeah, it could go to the state.
That's what the lady said. I was like, what the? And then you have to fight, like you're mentioning, take it to court, fight it, and.
And another thing, like if you have a lot of wealth, and at one point you're in what do you call those convalescent homes, and you have a lot of medical bills, they'll go after the estate. So Medi-Cal, they'll collect that first before you're able to touch the
That's if you don't have like a living trust and will, or a living trust.
Correct. Well, even if you have one,
they can still go after that.
They'll go after. They want their money.
Ruthless.
Yeah, they want their money.
Ruthless.
Now there are tax consequences on different ways of doing it. I think if you're less than $2 million, you don't have to worry. Or is it $2 million? I think it's $2 million. You don't have to worry about it. But once you reach past $2 million, then you got to talk to not only a financial planner for tax purposes when you die, and how you could distribute the wealth to your kids without then getting too much tax, because the tax on inheritance is pretty high.
There's tax on that too?
Yeah. So let's say you leave your family $10 million. Well, they're gonna have to pay a good amount of tax on that. But there are ways of minimizing that tax, and so I mean that's something that you would have to talk to a tax attorney and a financial planner.
So there's a lot of it. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah,
a lot.
But as you get wealthier, you'll have to deal with that at that point. Yeah.
Regardless, you're gonna have to, porque. Yeah. And you could put anything on the living trust, like anything you want. Like let's suppose I have a pair of Jordans that I want to give.
Anything, anything. You could say I want my favorite T-shirt to go to X.
Seems like a lot of work. Is this, I think, a couple of hours to do?
It's not a one-time. I mean, when you go to an attorney, usually what happens, they'll give you a questionnaire, and you go home, you fill it out, you think about it, because it's a process you really have to think about. Okay, assuming it's easy, like, okay, I wanted to give it to my wife and my kids,
right?
But let's say the whole family dies, which has occurred.
Right.
What then?
Right.
Do you want to give it to your brothers and sisters? Do you want to give it to your wife's brothers and sisters? What if you don't like them, or you don't get along with them? Technically, they are all entitled.
Right.
But if you say, no, you know what? I don't want anything to go to them. At that point, I want to put it to a charity. I want to give it to a church. That's where it starts getting complicated. What do you do at that point?
Jesus. So it's something you really got to think about, huh? The whole process.
The whole process. Like, okay. And you don't think like, oh, we're all going to die at the same time. But if it does, what happens?
Right. Who's going to take the house? What's going to happen to it?
And when it comes to money,
everybody's going to come out fighting. A mí me debían $2,000, le presté una vez.
Yeah, exactly. Aunque sea poquito.
Sí.
Aunque sea just a little bit amount of money, people start fighting.
Of course.
Oh, I put X amount of money on payment, so I'm entitled to it. I've seen families stop talking just because, once the parents died, it like, oh, it's mine. No, it's mine.
And I heard people going into the house like, well, he'd want me to have this, and I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
And they start taking stuff from the house.
Well, I'll tell you a personal story on that one. When my grandfather passed away, and it was sad, we had people came over for the funeral, and we went to my grandmother's house afterwards.
Right.
And they were like, I guess, distant cousins. I'm not sure who they were really. They came, and they were start asking my aunt, my grandmother, hey, I think they were nieces and nephews of her, because they would say, Tia, can I take this? And they started to start taking stuff from her room. She was still living. And my wife, at the time we were dating, she goes, hey, there's these people that I don't even know, I've never seen, which I had never seen myself. They're in your grandmother's bedroom, and they're taking stuff. Shit. So, my grandma was not in the mindset to, she was, take whatever you want, whatever. I went inside and said, hey, drop everything, get out.
Get the fuck out of here.
They're like, you can't be taking anything. It's just like, my grandfather just died, and first of all, we don't even know you.
Right.
And I had never seen him come visit.
Squatters, maybe, no?
Yeah, well, I don't know who they were.
Squatters,
really.
looters.
But it does happen, so that's why it's important to have everything in writing, how you want everything distributed.
That's good. So then what, I guess, this is like one of those out of here questions, but does somebody come to collect the stuff? Like, let's suppose I put those Jordans. Somebody's going to have to come to the house and find those Jordans, or...
Well, the key thing when you create your living trust, the person that you designate as the trustee or the executor, they have to know two things. One, that the trust exists, and where you have it.
Okay.
At that point, they'll have control of the assets. They'll have control of where everything's at. That's the only thing you really have to do.
Okay.
And if they're in a specific, let's say you have a safe box somewhere, you should have instructions in your document where it's at, where do they find the keys, or who has access to it. Couple of things that I think needs to be in the package of your living trust, a big binder. It's a big binder. Is this is typically not written, and then in the document, your bank accounts. Just have a sheet of paper with all your bank accounts. Have a sheet of paper, vehicles that you own. Anything that's not really specified in a list.
Mm-hmm.
Have a list where they know where to go. If you have a loan, who do you pay loans to? This way, you make it easy for that person to, okay, I know where to go, what I need to take care of.
I had one of my clients, I think his mom passed away. And he was I guess he was in charge of the money from the bank. Like she had, I don't know, some amount of money in there. And he was trying to get the money out of there. And we called the bank and they're like, you have to bring the death certificate in here to prove to us that she died, and then you can have the money.
But even then, some banks won't even release it until it's determined that you're the one that's
in charge or
the beneficiary.
Yeah.
If that person's name is not, because you could also have a bank account, and some banks will say, who's your beneficiary? And you designate the beneficiary at the bank. The bank will say, okay, you're the beneficiary, they'll give you the money. But if you're not a listed person as a beneficiary, or there's none, they won't release the money to you.
Jesus. So what do they do with the money? They keep it or send it to?
They keep it until it goes to the probate, and the court just says, okay, the court will give you a document. You are the person that's now the owner of the account. And at that point, you could do something. Again, it goes to probate.
That's a process.
It's a process. And if you want to touch that money, you won't be able to touch it.
And then, okay, so I've seen in movies where sometimes they're holding like a meeting and then they have the trustee that starts distributing. Is that real? Where they have like a meeting, or at any point can the trustee just say, come pick up whatever that is owed to you? Or is it easier just to have the trustee start handing stuff out, making the statements, or?
Well, I think it depends on your living trust. I think in the movies, they usually have the attorney, and the attorney comes and he's the one overseeing everything. I think in real life, it doesn't happen that way. I think it's usually the trustee, like, okay, we have a document, and then they just start distributing the stuff. I haven't seen somebody specifically where they both spouses have passed away to see exactly when it actually gets in place.
Right.
I haven't been there yet, but I imagine that, I don't think the attorney gets involved. I think you could probably get the attorney involved at that point.
They're going to charge you that now?
I'll probably charge the estate.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be here and make sure everything goes. And at the same time, it could be, if I'm the executor of I probably would want the attorney there.
Think so?
Because especially to make sure that everybody, well, one, I think everybody needs to get a copy at that point of the living trust to see who's going to get what.
Right.
But at least to make sure that everything gets distributed right.
It sounds like it can get a little sloppy or messy sometimes, huh?
Oh, yeah. When it comes to money,
Yeah.
it's always picky.
Okay.
Well,
it's a lot of information, but it's better than what the course that I took last time.
Well,
it was overwhelming. She was throwing a lot of them, like, Jesus, this is...
In a nutshell, it's just instructions when you die.
See.
That's what it is. And there's either one that you do with an attorney, one you don't.
And I did look up a website today that they help with, like, wills, living trust, advanced healthcare directives, and other stuff. It didn't look that expensive. But again, it's not really being reviewed by an attorney. It's just like...
You're doing it on your own. See, I'm not sure if those will really be valid at the time for a living trust.
Right. And they were starting off like at $179, $189.
The one thing for sure, you got to make sure it's a living trust that is registered with the local county. I think, because I think they get registered at the county when you sign them. That's the key, I think.
Okay. But I imagine those website self-help ones, they're gonna start adding other stuff to it to make more money off of it.
Probably. I think that's where you would have to do a little bit of homework on those.
Okay.
I have no experience with those, but.
Okay.
But you want to make sure it's a living trust. That goes a long way because it covers a lot of aspects of you, even when you're living, incapacitated, and when you die.
Right.
Versus a will, just okay, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
and avoid probate.
It's going to be something I got to look into.
Yeah.
Scary.
No.
As soon as I do it, I'm going to die.
No, that doesn't happen. That's what
The
everybody in the
association
neighborhood.
we make it, huh?
That's what everybody in the neighborhood says. Like, no, you're gonna die. No.
Yeah. No, eso quiere decir que me voy a morir.
Yeah, no. Or a lot of them, no, ya tengo algo ahí escrito, because that's what my parents say. Tengo ahí algo escrito, está bajo el colchón. You know, like, what? In the mattress? No, come on. You know, that doesn't count. Oh, no, see, it's good. I signed it, I put my fingerprint on it.
Sí,
I sent it to a notary, we went there. No, it doesn't count.
Mis documentos.
No.
Yeah.
It doesn't count. Maybe in Mexico, but I'm not sure if it works that way too.
I doubt it'll work here like that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it won't. It's not.
Yeah. And it kind of protects your assets, how it's going to happen at the end, you know.
Right.
You know, I don't know, do you want to talk about how to protect assets, or do you want to talk about...
Well, I wanted to talk about mutual funds, and we touched on it last week, or the last episode. We're talking about mutual funds and index stocks. And one of the things that I was listening to, Dave Ramsey always suggests mutual funds. I guess it's better rate of return. So I started doing some research, right? I'm not just going to believe the white man what he says. So I went, and I have mutual funds.
Did you talk to Chewy in the corner?
I talked to Chewy right around the corner right there. And no, I didn't talk to Chewy. So I checked my mutual funds. I have mutual funds and also have index stocks. Index stocks being your individual stocks for like Amazon, Google. I have Alaska Airlines, Moderna, Pfizer, stuff like that. ¿Entiendes? And I started looking at the rate of returns. My index stocks, that one has the least amount of money. It's got a few $100s. That one, I think the rate of return was almost 9%. Not bad. Not bad. And this is during the pandemic, everything crashed.
That's you making decisions on what companies you buy.
Right. I'm personally making those decisions based on research, how they're doing, how they're supposed to do, projecting for the future. And then I checked my mutual funds, and I think we talked about this last week, but my mutual funds were up 19%.
And that's somebody making the decision on which mutual fund is being, right? Which mutual fund is aggressive or non-aggressive, right?
So I'm that somebody.
Now, this is outside from your regular 401k plan?
No, it's my 401k.
Oh, it's your 401k.
It's my 401k. So in that one, I make the decisions. I move my money around and move. And so luckily, what I did también was I talked about going back and checking every 3 months. I've met some people that told me that they just put their money there and they don't even look at it. They haven't looked at it in years. They just leave it there. And I'm like, dude, you got to check it. It's not the rotisserie, set it and forget it. You have to go in there and check.
Well, it depends.
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting close to retirement, I think we discussed that the last time. Yeah, you're going to be in a conservative mutual fund.
Right.
You probably don't need to review it as often because it's set as a conservative and ready for retirement within the next couple of years. But if you're in your situation, you're young, you're being aggressive, then
don't forget handsome.
I don't know about that, man.
Just don't forget it. And
I don't know, man. I asked your wife, she'd probably say, no, está feo. Por eso me casé con él.
She did say that she got with me for potential.
Potential.
The potential for what? I don't know.
Potentially you could be handsome, or potentially you could be rich, or
potentially she could be rich.
Oh, I don't know.
It is what it is, huh? So, and I think it's good. I think not that part, but the mutual funds and index stocks.
Okay, you lost me. So what's not good? That your wife is...
Yeah, that part.
Oh.
That's not a good part. But in the mutual funds, and that's what Dave Ramsey recommends. So what I'm looking at it and I'm comparing it, but I gotta raise the funding on this one also, because this one is like way up here with funds, and this one's like way down here with funds.
But the ones from, the mutual funds is they're your 401k.
Right.
That should be a percentage based on your salary because it's pre-tax. But on the outside of work, then you are investing. You could also buy mutual funds, right?
Correct.
So why aren't you buying mutual funds in the outside?
With this one, I'm experimenting to get more experience with the index stocks. I don't have a lot of experience with them, but on ese.
So you're trying to get specific companies
Right.
and get experience. That's a good.
Right.
But would you consider getting mutual funds for the private as well?
I'm going to do that as well. I just want to kind of test it out, a ver cómo es. You know, some people are saying que sí, que no, but I want to test it out.
How easy is it to set up an account, or how did you go about it? Okay, work it's easy. You fill out a form and they take care of everything.
Right.
That's pretty much typical in every job. But on the private side, outside of work, what's the process? What did you do?
So we did, I think it took us about 30 minutes max. We set up two different accounts. One with Charles Schwab and the other one with Fidelity.
Why two different? Why not just one?
Why not one? I think at the time we were just like, let's figure it out. Let's see which one's better. I personally like Fidelity. That's the one that I manage. My wife manages the Charles Schwab one.
What's the difference? Why you like one more than the other? Aren't they all the same?
Not really. So what I've noticed is, and I think it was one stock I couldn't find on Charles Schwab, so we bought it through Fidelity, and it was a penny stock, but Charles Schwab didn't have it. So even though it kind of looks the same, the companies,
they don't manage the same type, or they don't have the same type of services.
Correct. So Charles Schwab didn't have certain stocks that I was looking for, but Fidelity did, and I think it's probably going to be the same.
Are those the only two companies that are available, or are there more?
No, there's more. There's also Robinhood. I don't use Robinhood.
Why not?
I don't know. I think after the whole AMC, GameStop situation, I was like, yeah, whatever.
Now, I've heard there are some that, for people who don't have a lot of money and they want to get into the stock, is that the Robinhood, or is there somebody else?
I don't know. Because you can buy penny stocks. If you want to do penny stocks.
What are penny stocks?
So that's
what cost a penny?
That's what you would think, right?
No.
But a penny stock could also be up to $3. So $3 and below.
Is that really what a penny stock is?
So I found out because I was trying to buy this one company, stocks from this company, and it's weird because you have to get permission. So I went through Fidelity. And Fidelity's like, you're not allowed to do it.
Why?
So I was like, what the? So I had to call Fidelity. And like, all right, so you got to call Fidelity. They got to explain to you that it's high volatility, very volatile. It's a penny stock, and you have to give them permission for you to be able to purchase.
What do you mean by volatile?
Like it can go up high and it can come crashing back down.
Now, so what happens? Does it crash down to where you lose everything? Or is it always going to be worth the value where you purchased it?
So based on what I've read and heard, it's always going to have some kind of value, right?
So let's say the company goes bankrupt. Wouldn't you lose everything at that point?
So you could lose money at that point. If they go bankrupt, you could.
Now, somebody once told me that they had a stock and they ended up owing money. Is that possible?
I don't know. I haven't dealt with that.
So we have to do a little bit of research on that?
We got to do some research. I know you can lose a ton of money. There was that one guy that took his life because he ended up losing a shitload of money.
Well, yeah, there was a billionaire in South America.
Yeah.
He lost all his fortunes when the stock market went bad or something. He went from billionaire to a zillionaire.
A zillionaire, no money, a zero.
Zero, yeah.
So I don't know, because I've never heard of anybody being in the negative. I don't know that you can. I don't know. Can you own a company? Can you owe them money?
I don't know. That's my question. I think maybe once it goes to zero, that's it. You lost your money.
That's what you would think, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see the stock market like, hey, you're gonna owe us $50,000 or whatever.
Or maybe on the trade.
Maybe.
To close the account, you gotta pay us.
They're gonna charge you more than what your account is worth, huh?
It's possible.
Yeah. So I'm thinking in the way that it's looking, it looks like mutual funds would be better than index stocks.
Well, in the long run, yeah. Because you got somebody else managing it, you don't have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the long run, it's probably is better. But I think if you know, and you have the time, and if you know how to read the books of a company,
right,
the stock market will probably be fine. Because I mean, it's almost like gambling in the
day
sense,
trading,
but
huh?
Day trading, yeah.
It's like roulette. A ver.
Well, I think it's a little bit more. It's like roulette, but where you're thinking, it's almost like playing chess.
Right.
See which is the next move.
Right. So I don't know how to play chess.
No.
Checkers.
Oh, we gotta teach you.
Carambola.
No, those are no. Chess is a game that I think teaches you life skills. It teaches you how to think ahead for your next move, and that helps in business. That helps in building that. What's going to come next? You look at the board. Not only one move, but
you're planning ahead, huh?
5 or 10 different moves ahead. What's your opponent going to do? If somebody wants to learn, it's a simple game. It's just good strategy. I'm not that good. I played with some like chess masters, and they whip my butt really quick. But I could play. I like playing. It's helps with your mind. But I think it's a game you should pick up.
All right, you're gonna have to show me.
I'll show you whenever you want.
Maybe one of the episodes we can
show how the different moves. There's only I don't know what 6 different pieces, 8 pieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm up for it.
Yeah.
I'm up for it.
Yeah, but yeah, you should teach. That's a game that you teach your kids,
mm-hmm,
and they'll improve their skills as far as like thinking ahead.
Okay. Executive function. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do it.
Yeah, we'll do it. So mutual funds, that's the way to go.
And I think that is the way to go if you want. And like I mentioned before, stocks are usually for long term, right? It's not like gonna make $1,000 overnight. Yeah, it's possible, but rare.
But the people in the neighborhood or the barrio, they don't have extra income to do that. So
Right.
how do you? What do you? I mean, yeah, it's nice to dream, man. I want to buy stocks one day, but you know, how do they get started? You know, okay, the penny stocks.
Right.
That sounds reasonable. $1, $2, $3,
Or
right?
even a couple of cents. I think some of them were even. I think right now the one that I bought was initially $1, and now it's like at 70 cents.
Have you researched of any stock that was a penny stock that now is a big stock? Does that exist, or penny stocks are always going to be cheap?
So I don't know. I haven't done the research, but the one that does come to mind is the cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin, which was like
There were penny stocks at one
right,
point. Okay.
and then it went up to what is it right now? I think when I checked on Tuesday, it was like 40,000 again.
So what about like one of the big ones like Coca-Cola, Disney? Were they penny stocks at one point?
I don't know. I don't know. I gotta look into
That'll
that.
be a good research to figure
Look into
out.
it.
Because if it is, then you got to find that one.
You gotta find that one that's gonna get you up to, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. But even if you have a couple, I mean, I think that the lowest you can do in stocks is maybe like $1. Because I think I've done like, I tried to buy a slice or something, I'm like, oh, 75 cents. Like, no, you got to put at least a dollar or $5. But even just a couple of that.
But I think, I mean, everybody in the barrio, I mean, they could afford a Starbucks coffee for $5. Hey,
They can afford
don't drink one coffee, go buy a stock.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Start off small. That's how I started. Small. And then when I
And
got
eventually
more,
it's like, ooh, it goes up.
it adds up.
Yeah.
It definitely adds up. Even for my kids, I'm putting like 20 here, 50 here, 40 there, sometimes $5. It's adding up. It's really adding up.
Have they noticed the difference? Like, oh, have they learned from that experience? Like, wow, have I just spent $5 here, $1 here?
No, not really.
They haven't seen it yet.
No,
They haven't
not
seen
yet.
the value of what you're giving them yet.
No, not yet.
Hopefully they will.
Hopefully in the future. Maybe my 15-year-old, she might learn about it. But my son, he's like, okay, Dad, whatever.
Yeah, talking to your family about stocks, investments, you know, your household income, you know, I think it's important.
Right.
I think, you know, the raza, we don't
talk
about
we
that.
don't even do it.
No.
And even like I was telling you yesterday, I told you I check my stocks pretty much every day just to see how the market's going. Is it fluctuating? Which way is it going? And I told my kids, if it goes down, don't worry about it. So this was a good example, and I got to tell my kids. Yesterday when I checked it, I had lost $20 in the stock market. My son lost, I think, like $5. When I checked it today, we actually got those $20 and then some, a little bit more, a couple of cents more. My son gained back his money también.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to check every day. It'll probably drive me nuts.
It drives me. Well, it makes me feel good.
No, but that's good that you're talking with your kids. You're teaching them about money. I think it's very important
Yeah.
that you do that. Do you tell them how much you make? Do they know?
Do they know how much I make? Yeah, they know.
Okay, that's good.
They know how much I make. I mean, yeah, I tell them.
Do they
I'm
say-
pretty open with
Do
it.
they laugh?
Do they laugh? They're like, Dad, get out of here. Get a real job, Dad. I'm like, Groseros.
You make.
That's it.
I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna follow your footsteps.
Damn, this is like the penny stocks, Dad. Now I see why you want to help us get some good money. Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, it's good because parents don't. I to this day, I have friends that parents and their kids don't talk about money.
They don't talk about money.
They don't talk about death. They don't talk about
Right.
anything. Like
Life insurances, and I'll talk about this one next time because I know we're cutting down on time. But be open with your family.
huh?
Be open
yeah.
with your family.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
I think it's very important that we open it up with the family and have a conversation all the time about money, how to manage money, how to invest money. I think those are key.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Well, it was nice conversation we had.
Thank you.
today.
I really learned a lot.
So did you learn a lot about what the?
I did, and it's pushing me towards getting together with my wife and the kids, talking to them like, hey, this is what we need to do, right? Getting the
I don't know if you want to tell them about what you're gonna leave them inheritance or not. If not, they're gonna.
Well, I'm not gonna tell them. This is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. More than likely, I'm gonna be kicked out of the house, but won't be the first time. Won't be the last. He has to, pushing forward to that, because now that we have properties, like, dude, what's gonna happen? And somebody asked me recently, one of my nieces, I think in February of this year, she said, "What are you gonna do with your house, Theo?"
What are you gonna do with it? You're gonna live in it.
I'm gonna live in it. And I said, "Good point." But she said, what are you going to do when you die? Like, are you going to leave it to your kids, or what are you going to do? I said, I don't have it set for anything. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it should go to your wife, right? And Sancho.
Well, 4-bedroom.
Yeah, maybe she had 3 boyfriends.
That's what I was saying. She probably got the room for 3 more guys. I don't know.
Maybe she's like, I tried that 1 husband thing. I want to try the 3 husband thing.
She's going to be, ¿cómo se llama? Polyamorous?
Yeah, that's why I say, when, I think in our last episode we talked about life insurance.
Sí.
It's like, having too much money, you want just enough?
Just enough to keep them.
Keep them happy.
Yeah. Cool, Danny.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, we'll talk again next week.
Definitely.
If you want to hear more stories like this, please click the like button and subscribe.
Find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.